Thank you for joining this training on determining prevailing wage requests and prevailing wage requirements for ACAP projects. I'm Erin Troba, and I'm an extension educator with the Center for Agricultural Conservation Assistance Training. And with me today is Devin McFeeters, who works at Center County Conservation District. And she will be taking us through how she does prevailing wage determination requests and how she includes documents in bid packages for prevailing wage on ACAP projects that Center County works on. So Devin, I will let you go through your process and we can touch base on some questions at the end.
All right, so I'm gonna take us from the very beginning of how I would go through requesting prevailing wage rates. So first I'm gonna share my screen here. All right, so the easiest way to find the web page is just to type in prevailing wage rate determination request, Pennsylvania. So the first two links, either one will work. This first link will take you right to the actual request page. This second link will take you to the Department of Labor and Industry. So you can come down to here to request or search prevailing wage rates. So from this page, you can access the request form, but then you can also access the prevailing wage rates determination search, which I'll come back to a little bit later. So we'll go through this request form first. So I'm going to fill this out as I would for a project. So I'm in Center County, so select your county here. Estimated project cost, they're basically just looking here to see if it's more than $25,000. So if you don't have an exact estimate, just they're not looking for a super specific number. So as long as the number you're putting in is more than $25,000, you'll get those rates back. The project name, you can call it whatever you want. And then general description, this is how they decide where to classify it. So there's three classifications: building, heavy highway, and then just highway. It doesn't really matter what those mean. They make that determination. It more affects the contractors, but you want to put in here just what is being constructed. So, you know, animal waste facility, access road, animal trails, fill in whatever is gonna be in there. Project locality, that's just your township. Administrator awarding agency. So if you're making the request for one of your projects, it's going to be your conservation district. So I'm going to put in Center County Conservation District. And then the awarding agency contact is just going to be you, whoever you want those to be the contact for this project. And then you can put in your office phone number, general directions to project. That doesn't need to be super specific. You can say it's off this road. If it's kind of hard to find the project, you could get a little more specific, but you're just giving very brief directions on where that's going. The award date, whenever you awarded the funds, just I think as long as that date is before you make the request, that's fine. So just put in a date before the day you're requesting them. And then the proposed start date just needs to be whenever you're expecting to start. Ideally, you would make this request at least 2 weeks before a site showing. Typically, you get these requests back within a day, but I have had it take up to 2 weeks. That's only happened once. I think something weird happened with that, but just to be on the safe side, try to request them 2 weeks before you need them. But yeah, whatever your proposed start date is, and then estimated completion date. Again, this is an estimate. Give your best guess. We all know that construction gets delayed. No one's going to come after you if that date is not exactly right. And then contact information. This is going to be your contact info, whoever you want these requests sent to. You're going to fill in name, title, phone number, email address. This is very important that you get your email address correct because that is where the rates will be sent. And then your address line. So then you're going to hit submit and it'll say, congratulations, you've submitted this. There is an option then to download the form you just filled out so you can save it to prove, I made this request on this day if you have any issues, but otherwise you shouldn't really need to reference back to that form. So once you have this filled out, sometimes within a couple of hours, you'll get an email with a link that will take you to your prevailing wage rates. So I'm going to show you since we're not actually submitting a request, I'm going to show you how to do the search here. So I'm again going to select Center County. And here I went back to this Department of Labor and Industry page, request or search prevailing wage rates, and then prevailing wage rates determination search. So again, I'm going to select Center County, and then I'm going to just put in Center County Conservation District. So what this is going to do is this going to pull up every project that we as the Center County have ever submitted in here. So we have 42 records. This first page goes back to 2024. So I'm going to just pick one of our older projects here and show you what this looks like. So when you get that link in your email, this page is what it will bring you to. So this is what you'll see when you click that link in your email. If you're not getting a link in your email, or maybe it went to spam, you missed it, you can use this search feature to make sure your project isn't in there. Also do it sometimes just to make sure another agency hasn't requested them. If you're doing a partner agency, sometimes the engineer will make the request. So just making sure you haven't requested multiple rates for the same project. So up here, you're going to choose printer friendly version. You will need to disable pop-ups for this. Sometimes that can be an issue, but just allow pop-ups and then you'll get a PDF that you can download. And this document you want to include in your bid packages. So this is the rates. The contractors will pull their rates from this document. So you can see up here, let me zoom in a little. This project was classified as building, heavy, and highway. So that means something to the contractors. It's not necessarily something you need to worry about, but they will sometimes ask, what the project classification is. And you can find that here. This serial number, I also like to include like in the project description of the bid package, just because that's easy for contractors to go back to. If they can't find the bid package or they can't find their project rates, they can go back to that search function and they can type in the serial number and find the project rates again. So that is a nice, easy way to find. This just has kind of all the general descriptors. Okay, so these are some other documents that I like to include in my bid package: regulations for Pennsylvania Prevailing Wage Act. This just takes you through all the legal jargon for what prevailing wage is and why it's required. Contractors at this point are mostly familiar with this, but if you have someone new, you can direct them to this. I also like to include a copy of the weekly payroll certification in case, again, a contractor hasn't worked with prevailing wage before. They can see what this looks like. And so they're supposed to submit these for every week that they work on a project. And the first and last are supposed to be notarized. Again, at this point, most contractors know it, but sometimes we have smaller contractors who are just getting into working on government projects and haven't done, state funded projects before, and so might not know. They just fill this out and then submit one of these for each week that they work on the project. And then finally, there's also this prevailing wage complaint form that they can, if they feel that the rates are not correct or they want to contest anything, they can submit this. I don't know what happens if they do submit this because I've never had someone do it, but I do include this in my bid packages. I believe that is all in terms of prevailing wage that I typically do. Erin, is there anything I missed or that you need me to cover again?
I think that really covers it. I think I can address anything else through verbal parts of the training and I can go through anything else. I'm glad you went through what happens when you get it back. I think you already addressed the fact that you're supposed to get it at the end of the project, the first and last notarized. What do you do with that once you
That's a
get
good
those?
question. So some districts handle this differently, but what we do is we just retain those in the project file. We don't do anything with them. In theory, the Department of Labor and Industry could come to us and say hey, can you prove that this contractor submitted these? And we would present them with what we have. We don't check that they filled them out correctly. The liability is on the contractor for filling them out correctly. We just retain them on site. I know some districts handle that differently, but that is what our practice is.
And I think that's it because I think if that's all you do, then that's all people need to know.